you. Do you want to?
The part of you that you hate is the part of you that's trying to save you. And in today's society, we love a label, but the self-help language has just become a normalized way of us rejecting the things that we are trying to tell ourselves and the things that we want to heal. And the tough part is that all of this healing language really just becomes a bunch of labels that make us feel like we're healing all of these toxic traits that we've labeled as toxic, when really they're just things that we feel, right? Things that happen that make us feel some type of way. And usually these feelings are trying to guide us into a better version of ourselves or a higher version of ourselves. And because we realize that feeling these things are trying to guide us, and because maybe we are afraid, it's easier for us to just label it, as jealousy, instead of, what did this person do, or what was this experience, or what was this interaction that made me feel this way. And as someone who used to be extremely jealous and very angry and have a lot of these traits that we consider toxic, I thought for a lot of my life that, this is not, like a healed woman wouldn't feel this way. And at the end of the day, the point is not to become a healed woman or a healed human or a healed individual. The point is to become a whole individual, an individual that can embody or at least participate in trying your best to embody the best version of yourself that you are capable of. And when these external things trigger us and we immediately label it as toxic and label them as, jealousy or any of these labels that we rage, anger, instead of, why did I feel that way? What happened maybe in my childhood that made me label this interaction as that way? Because what happens is, like, all these interactions that are happening, you are always perceiving it different than everybody else, right? Everybody is always getting their own unique experience based on how they were brought up, right? Based on their own morals and values, based on their own experiences. So you and me can be witnessing the same thing and we will perceive it two very different ways, just based off of our own individuality, which is such a beautiful thing. But because we live in a society, and obviously I'm saying this because that's the society that I lived in for so long, because it's not the only society that exists, because we live in a society, because I've lived in a society where, if I feel some type of way that isn't embodying the woman that I want to become, this perfect woman, or operating as this perfect angelic, like whatever the highest being of who I want to become looks like to me, all of a sudden it's like I need to label it something so that I can then reject it instead of actually facing, the way that it makes me feel, or the way that it makes us feel. And so the challenge is, at least for me, to meet myself where I've labeled myself these toxic traits, instead of immediately trying to put a label on it, meeting myself with compassion and being like, okay, why is it that you had this interaction where somebody shared something really special that they were going through and you smiled in their face, but then behind their back you were extremely jealous? And this isn't necessarily like you going behind somebody's back and starting to talk crap, right? Even if you're like doing it in your own head. This is more just being observant of, this isn't me wanting or wishing negative on somebody else, but why is it that somebody sharing something so intimate and so special made me feel so jealous? What is it that I want? Do you know? What is it that maybe they have that I feel like I don't? And instead of seeing how I can fulfill that hole in myself, I just find a way to dim their hole in my life. Oh, that's so tough. Your shadow, it follows you. All of these things that we carry and we carry and we carry and we carry, they continue to build up, and it will follow you. Even when you label it toxic, it's still going to follow you. And until we stop performing this softness over these toxic things, we can't actually visit how it feels inside in order to shift that perspective. And I found it so tough because I catch myself having these toxic thoughts or labeling these toxic things or feeling some type of way, and being so hard on myself, and then labeling the fact that I'm hard on myself because I'm vigilant of what's going on inside of me, and then it just keeps snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. And I sit there and I realize that it's happening, and I try to have that conversation with myself, and I'm like, okay, you can let it go. Like, this does not need to, you do not need to identify yourself with this label. You can just observe this feeling that is happening inside of you, and maybe even being intentional about journaling and like, where did this come from? And obviously, like, your shadow work and your inner child work and all of these things play a part, because it is important that we digest all of these feelings. It is information, but we don't want to get into a habit of just information overload where we're intaking all of this information all the time and we're never actually acting on it, because at the end of the day, that is literally the definition of insanity. Like, I don't know what it is, but continuing to do something or feeling something over and over and over and over and over again and not changing it, and then just feel like you're going insane when you actually do have control over it, right? Let me give you an example. I want you to count to 5. And once you get to 5, I want you to completely stop counting. Okay? We're going to start at 0. Ready? Why are you still counting? I thought you were supposed to stop counting. When you realize that you actually have that voice inside your head, you have the ability to observe it because you knew that you were supposed to stop counting. It's just an observation, and you can observe these feelings just the same and allow them to pass without adding another layer of toxicity and labeling on top of, because you have multiple voices inside of your head, and you need to realize which ones are actually your voice and which ones are just opinions and just information that you get to just observe and be like, that's interesting. How do I feel about that? Or maybe you don't even have to feel anything about it, and you can just let it go. The day you stop deleting and depleting the parts of yourself that you label as toxic, and you actually allow yourself to speak, and it doesn't necessarily need to be out loud. Let that throat chakra go, maybe you do need to speak out loud, which is why I'm doing these videos, because that's something that I need to participate in. But the day you actually allow yourself to let yourself speak in your truth is the day that you allow everything else and everyone else in the universe to meet you in that space. But if you don't do the work that you need to do in order to process, you will continue to bring into fruition people and things that are vibrating on the frequency that you are currently at. And if that is a frequency of jealousy and anger and hatred towards interactions that really you just witness and move on, and then you carry that experience with you, it's so draining. It's a terrible way to live, in my opinion. Obviously, this is like a forever evolution that you just kind of go through and grow through for the rest of your life. That is the whole point, to get to experience it, and to get to a point where you can just kind of observe it and let it go, and you don't feel like you need to be attached, is really, really beautiful. But there's a really crazy fish tank here I want to show you. Look how cool that is. It's crazy. But anyways, hope you took something away from that, and I will see you guys tomorrow.